All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and the playoff is finally here. The 12 teams are set. A lot of arguing of who should have been in the playoff, but we're past that point. No more arguing. Time to play the football games. Prove it on the field. I'm joined by my co-host, the man who is now BFF with Fred Taylor, apparently, or either that or he hijacked him for some autographed football cards that were supposed to go to little kids. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Haps doing great. Yeah, it was an honor meeting Fred Taylor after the Jags beat the trash out of the Jets. Ran me in the parking lots. It's funny who you run to at football games, you know. Doing great. It's playoff time. I was kind of hoping we say we have 4 good games, but I think we have 2 good games on the docket this weekend, and 2 games that should be over by halftime at the very latest. But all in all, let's dive into it. You know, it's college football, and we're ready to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun regardless, and we only have a handful of these college football games left, so we got to savor the flavor, enjoy it, just lock it in. And make sure you guys are locked in. Hit that subscribe button up there, hit the notification bell. Make sure you hang with us all playoff season long. And once we get past the playoffs, into our NFL preview stuff, along with the draft, all those things coming your way, new episodes. So I'm going to say on that one, Fresh, let's get into it. Friday night, 8 p.m. on ABC. The Alabama Crimson Tide shouldn't be into the playoff. Is going to Norman, Oklahoma. Don't lose to Florida State. And they'll be facing the Oklahoma Sooners. Right now, at time of record, Alabama is a 1.5 point favorite on the road. Over under of this game is set at 40.5. Fresh, I'm kind of coughing.
I couldn't tell, really.
Or this is going to be a snooze fest of a game. And you better really like defense if it turns into a snooze fest.
I mean, you look at this game, both teams are beat up injury-wise, but I think Alabama has a lot more injury concerns than Oklahoma does. And how fast can those players recover who missed the SC championship game and get back on the playing field for Friday night? Excuse me. It's going to be a big deal for the Tide to validate their existence in the playoff, and potentially also a certain head coach who hasn't signed an extension, but's tried to get an extension, but put out a poem/message to the fans that he loves Tuscaloosa. And usually every time that happens, that means the coaches are leaving. It sets up very nicely that Michigan firing their coach during a scandal they knew about for multiple years. They wait until this time where why not do it earlier? Who knows? There's a lot of things surrounding it. But if DeBoer loses, does he go to Michigan? Does he stay? A lot of additional like ripple effects and intrigue. Coming into the game though, you said about defense, but it's really going to come down to the quarterbacks. Because John Mateer got off to a great start and injured his hand and tried to come back to the Texas game in the Red River Shootout. Played like trash, and that offense and him have not looked good since then. They've struggled to complete a forward pass, and they're playing offense like it is 1904. And they were expected to bring this offense from Washington State, which was very fast-paced and high-flying. So that is the biggest real, enigma is, can Oklahoma finally develop and play with an offense? And then on the other flip side, can Alabama find and Ty Simpson especially find the offense they had in the beginning of the season, especially when they were in Athens? They've just kind of been up and down, very clunky. And Ryan Williams evaporated for most of the season and shows up for 2 catches versus Georgia. And then Jermaine Bernard up and down. The running game has been terrible. It's just a lot of clunky play offensively, but both defenses have stepped up at times. Alabama struggling to run the football puts this in tremendous pressure on Ty Simpson, the offense, to show up because that Oklahoma defense already knows the blueprint. They gave up tons of yards, but they forced 3 turnovers, and they were able to shut down Alabama in the red zone. And in the end, it's all about points. Yards, stats, none of that matter. It's finding out how to score or be held or prevent the opponent from scoring. This is the 3rd time DeBoer has been playing Brett Venables in 14 months, 15 months segment. What is really, as a coach, what does he learn? Because when he was at Washington, he took care of Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks back to back. Can he find a way to, him and Ryan Grubb develop this offense to understand what they've seen, what Brett Venables and that front seven have done to take something away or you're trying to take advantage of some mismatch. And if they can't do it here, your third time out and take, especially one within what 5 weeks, maybe 6 of the last time they played, then we're going to maybe see that Kalen DeBoer was playing terrible defense in the Pac-12 and kind of just got lucky in a run, and just won a shootout versus Texas in his playoff run, and it was just he's an average coach at best. So his legacy of who he truly is on the line because you have 3 times at one team, you got to find a way to at least show progress. And they've actually looked, they can't score. They scored, what, 7 points under Jalen Milroe 2 years ago? Well, last season, excuse me. And this past year, didn't really not much of a blip on the radar. So you've got to show growth. Ty Simpson's got to show growth. That running game has got to find a way to show growth. That offensive line has got to find a way to show growth. Bama's legacy post Nick Saban is on the line. I think Bama bias, we talked about earlier, Bama bias got him in the playoffs. 2 years in a row of clunkers, and if you go out here and just crap the bed, the fan base is going to be up in pitchforks. Media networks are going to be up in pitchforks. The conference is going to be embarrassed, and they're going to be surpassed. So there's a lot on the line from a legacy perspective for Bama and for Kalen DeBoer coming in this ballgame. Brett Venables on the other side came into the year with a lot on the line. How can he adapt to the portal? How can he really, finally set foot a winning program at Oklahoma? And he's done it defensively. That he has found a way. The offense is not that great, but they hit a couple, 60-yard touchdowns every once in a while, but they're not consistent. And the defense keeps them in every ball game, grinds it out, gets tons of sacks, tons of pressure, and forces turnovers. What can Brett Venables in the third game, either already showing different coverages or blitz packages or alignments to his advantage to now confuse Ty Simpson and Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb and the entire offense? Do you give him the same look? Now, do you give him different looks where you've had success and then change it up because they're going to overthink it? This is a lot of fun for Venables. It's going to show what they can do defensively. But if they can get that full defensive line healthy, it's going to make that entire secondary even that much more lethal. This game being Friday night in Norman, it's going to be rocking. But it's just your initial comment, I think we're going to see much more of a defensive battle. It's going to be a 17-10, 20-17 kind of game. It might be clunky early on because both teams, especially both quarterbacks, are going to be nervous. Like this is a win or go home kind of situation that neither of these quarterbacks or teams have been a part of. So I think there's gonna be some apprehensive approach to the ball game, and you're gonna see defenses jump out early. Which quarterback can get calm quicker? I want to go with Oklahoma, but something says the way that Alabama has looked lately, they're due for a bounce back if they can get healthy. I think Alabama grinds out a win on the road because Oklahoma's offense you still need someone to score. And I can't see anyone in that passing game to be able to get me 17 points. But the defense right there last time, they scored. They scored a touchdown. They kept them in the ballgame. They scored a touchdown versus Tennessee that set the tone. If the defense isn't scoring, how much could Oakland's offense put up? 13? I think Alabama's good for at least 2 touchdowns. So Bama will win this game in a clunker just because they have at least enough to score an offense that Oklahoma doesn't right now. Oklahoma's defense will play lights out, but Bama will find a way to score at least 17 points and win the football game. And I think they're going to play with a chip on the shoulder because no one expects them to be there, so they have to find a way to fight through. But it'll be a grinder of a Friday night, but I think Alabama finds a way to win.
Yeah. Fresh, when I was digging into Alabama, I'm going to make a call here. In my opinion, Fresh, Bama is no longer a 5-star program. Now, I'll say they're a 4.5-star program, but they're no longer a 5-star program. Here's why. In the last 3 years, Saban's last year at Alabama and the last 2 years, and then the next time Alabama loses a game. So a playoff loss here. Because I don't think Alabama's got the talent, or I don't think they have the health right now to run a 4-game stretch in this playoff.
They're not winning national championship. They might win one playoff game, but that's it.
That would give them 10 losses for 23, 24, 25 combined. It'd be 31-9 right now. This is the reason why they're a 4.5-star program, is because you have to go from 22 all the way back 11 years ago to 2015, which is an 8-year stretch, to find the last time that they lost that many games. And I think this is part of the world of NIL. I think this is when you see, and I think Saban was smart. I think Saban realized that the game was starting to pass him by. And you see those coaches who were great head coaches, Matt Brown, and a couple of Belichick, and they hung around for way too long, and the game passed them by, and they can't adapt anymore. And I think Saban was smart. I think he was self-aware and he's smart and said, listen, this world's changing. I'm not going to be able to do what I'm doing here. Let me go out and still let everyone think that I'm a legend. And that's what I'm going to say. Alabama is no longer what I would consider a 5-star program. Now, again, 4.5-star, not dropping them, saying they're like a 2-star program here. So let's pump the brakes and not get crazy down there in the comments section. Tell me how much I hate Alabama. No, they're still 4.5-star program. The thing is, what is it going to take? And Kalen DeBoer made the mistake is you don't want to be the guy to replace the legend. And I get it. It's the Alabama job. There's maybe 5 jobs in the entire country, maybe down to 3 that are as prestigious as the Alabama job. I get it. When they come a calling, you take that phone call and you follow that. But it's going to be a bear on your career to follow a guy like Nick Saban with all the national titles, with all the dominance, with all the wins that he had, and with the level of expectation that they set at Alabama. We talked about this last year, is that Alabama has set a level of expectation that is almost unable to be matched. I mean, it's very rare that you're going to even find a coach that's going to be able to meet those expectations. And right now, in the entire country, there's only 2 of them that are doing it. And it's Kirby Smart and Ryan Day. Those are the only 2 guys who are meeting that extreme level of expectation. I think DeBoer may be looking for an exit strategy. I really do. I think he may be looking around him saying, you know, I can be successful here. And if I had the expectations of a place like, I don't know, I'll throw this out there. Even if Oregon, trade expectations like with the expectation that Oregon has, which is make the playoffs every single year. I don't think Oregon's fans' expectations are national titles. I think DeBoer would stay at Alabama for a very, very long time. But I don't see DeBoer as a national champion level coach. And I think he's going to kind of screw around in this game and win this game. And it may be for the betterment of his career to lose this game and find an exit strategy. And I know that's going to sound weird and people be like, well, that's a loser mentality. But if you think about it, like, you don't want to be the one to follow legend. You know, Bob Iger for the Disney company retires, was a legend, did great things for the Disney Corporation and their parks. And then Bob Chapek had to follow him, and it was a mitigated disaster. You don't want to be the guy to follow a legend. I go back to this fresh. It's very difficult to beat the same team twice in the same season. We talked about it during championship weekend, that how rare it was that it happened. And I don't think Oklahoma has the firepower for it. The only benefit that they do have is that they have been off for almost 3 weeks as of Friday. It'll be 20 days since they last played. John Mateer against LSU, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw 3 picks in that game. He wasn't running as much in it, but he was showing that passing ability they had. You gave him 3 weeks off to rest, heal, prepare. They're not doing brand new prep. It's not like they're facing Miami where you're having to pull in new tape and watch Miami and learn what Miami's defense is. You're not watching Oregon or anything like that. Like, you're redoing prep that you've already done. So I do think Oklahoma has a better opportunity than maybe some of the experts will give them. But still, at the end of the day, I really do think Alabama's going to be like, well, we got to flex our muscle and we got to show that we're still Alabama. And it's a paper tiger. It really is. It's a tiger that's going to maybe beat up an Oklahoma team that doesn't have the firepower on offense to keep up with you. And then you're going to get a team like Indiana, or even after that, a team like Texas Tech or Oregon. And sooner or later, that Cinderella slipper that whatever team this way, even if you could call either team a Cinderella here, which I wouldn't, because both of them I consider a blue blood of college football, they're going to get boat raced eventually by a team that's much more powerful, much more talented, and able to play both sides of the football. I don't think either one of these teams can do that. I really don't. I think this is going to be a good game. Again, difference maker for me is which team can run the ball. You talked about Alabama's got major injury problems. What running back are they going to have that's going to be fully healthy and be able to go? Torrey Blaylock has had some really great games for Oklahoma this year, but then it's also had some clunkers, and he hasn't really been amazing. John Mateer's running less. What are we going to see? And in my opinion, Fresh, it's going to be, I'll steal a statement from Josh Pate, which I always loved it, is which guy is going to put his face in the fan? Like he's going to put his nose in the fan and sit there and stare down. Is it going to be John Mateer or is it going to be Ty Simpson? Because one of those two guys has got to show up because Ty Simpson's flaws has come out as an NFL prospect. The dude's taking a 5-step drop in a gun formation. Go on YouTube and watch any NFL scout who shows him that the dude doesn't have great footwork out of the gun setting. And he's been primarily playing out of the shotgun setting. Alabama wins the pick. I'm just saying that they're going to mess around. They're going to get up for this game. They want revenge on Oklahoma. And again, I'm going back to the factor, it's really difficult to beat the same team twice in a year.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, I mean, if Alabama can't get up for this game where everyone hates you, number one, because you're Alabama, you haven't beat Oklahoma the last 2 times you played. You were given a gift. DeBoer would have to run because the pitchforks would be coming out. And that's where the whole Michigan thing, timing of it all. Well, first of all, Michigan doing it dirty by firing him. Yes, there might be some other reasons, like she came forward after the fact, but the signing day, losing to Ohio State, everybody already knew this was going on. It's just they knew they have someone in line. And that just makes too much sense. That's a DeBoer situation once the playoffs are done. But we'll see what happens in the coming week or so.
Yeah, Fresh. All right, let's go to the game. I think this is going to be the best game of the entire weekend. I hope I'm right. This is going to be a high noon kickoff on ABC. The Miami Hurricanes and Carson Beck, Sid from Ice Age, is going to travel down to Kyle Field. Texas A&M, 3-point favorite in this game. Over-under is set at 51.5. I'm intrigued to see where you fall on this one because as an Ohio State fan, I have a strong opinion on what team I think I'd like to see come out of this matchup. But I also have a team that I think would give the Buckeyes the most amount of problems in this matchup too.
Well, first of all, as screwed up as the committee is,
this one they got right.
Well, as screwed up as the committee is, and all the issues about seeding, and people saying, well, ESPN doesn't, even though TNT has 2 of the games. Well, those are coming up the last 2 that they got the bad draw. The 2 best games of the 4 in the first round being scheduled to avoid the NFL on Saturday is actually very smart. And at first we came out, we're like, why is Alabama playing on Friday night versus Oklahoma? Why is Miami playing A&M at noon? Well, if they were playing in the 4 o'clock slot, they'd eventually compete against a 5 o'clock NFL game. And at worst, they'd be going against Packers Bears for potentially the number 2 seed in the NFC and basically the stranglehold in the NFC North. You pick your poison. The NFL's still king. They did a great job there. So you got to give them credit. And that's exactly why this game is being played at noon. I'm sure A&M fans are like, man, I wish this was a night game. Well, you know what? You at night in Kyle Field in a big game isn't exactly the greatest thing in the world. So maybe it is okay that you're playing at noon, 11 a.m. local time versus Miami. This is Carson Beck's chance. His last time in a bowl game was playing versus Florida State in a game that was more of just airing the grievances, if you will, around the festive time period for losing an SEC championship game. He has a chance to either show he can't win in the big one or prove NFL scouts wrong, prove himself, maybe justify himself that he can win a big game on the road in a hostile environment. Can he handle the pressure? Because in big games, we have seen Carson Beck, for the most time, more than often than not, struggle or see the moment too big for him. This is a major test of him. Can he actually lead his troops and win a big game, prepare himself for the NFL, and get Miami to the second round? Get Miami, I would say actually, if he wins a playoff game, then Miami is back. So it's a lot of pressure to get this job done. He has the resources, whether it's Daniels, whether it's Tony, the running game behind Fletcher, that offensive line. This is you have to show up and make throws. Receivers have to make catches. In big games, if the receivers are dropping passes, Beck's going to start overthinking and start throwing the ball to the opposing team. You have got to catch the football. You've got to run the right routes. You've got to protect Carson Beck. And he will settle in and have a big game. That's what we're still waiting to see. I think a lot of people are still waiting to see. Can Carson deliver in a big game? Because the SEC championship game he started, he didn't. He got knocked out of the second one. He's won a bowl game where Florida State had nobody playing. And you can also say he won big games at Georgia because the entire team was just better than opponents. So this is a lot of on his and his legacy of at Miami, college career in general, and going forward, where does he get drafted in the NFL? He's still a viable product. Defensively, which Miami team shows up? Are you tough enough? Because I've always been suspect of the Miami defense. Can they actually, Reuben Bain's great, but across the board. Is the secondary good enough? Is the linebacker core good enough? Are they physical enough at the line of scrimmage? This is going to be a big test of the entire Miami coaching staff, offense and defense. Are they truly back, and can they win a ball game? You have nothing to lose though, because you weren't supposed to be in. You should have a chip on your shoulder. Hey, you were doubting us all year long. Now it's a chance for us to go out there and prove that we actually are supposed to be here. But if we lose, everyone's gonna be like, well, you know what? Hey, you shouldn't have been in. Notre Dame fans will claim they should have been in. Hey, you're in. Go out there and play with the reckless abandon. Try to be for once. Be the you. Be the you. That's all you have to do. Have some swagger. Have some attitude about you. Hit people in the mouth. You know what? I would say maybe even a late hit early in the ball game to sort of set a tone. Go out there and play it with a little edge. Be dangerous. That's the one thing this Miami team is under Cristobal is lacking is that swagger, that dangerous attitude that I kind of want to see pop out. On the other end, like Elko, the last two big games A&M has played, in my opinion, were versus Texas. Last year at home and this year in Austin. You no-showed in both of them. Complete no-show. If you no-show again, do people actually can take you seriously? There's a SEC Shorts has a very funny thing, and everyone knows it. There's a battered Aggie syndrome. And if you saw the most recent one, they had the playoff, the guy getting on the train, and the girl who plays the battered Aggie syndrome through the entire series shows up, and the guy starts freaking out. It's a thing. The fan base is expecting the other shoe to fall. They're waiting for the disaster to happen because it's too good to be true. And right now, you're falling right into that same storyline. It's too good to be true. You get them hyped up. You should have lost to South Carolina, but you rallied back and won. And then you come out there in the biggest game of the year, and all of a sudden you completely just lay an egg. Which Aggie team will show up? Will an Aggie team that played at Notre Dame and found a way to get it out and win show up? Or the same team that plays the Texas Longhorns every year and loses show up? Marcel Reed, can you get it done? All the receivers, Concepcion, the whole group, etc. Can you get it done? And defensively, can you be physical at the line of scrimmage? Can you get after the quarterback? Can you impose your will across the board against this Miami Hurricane team? Are you more physical than they are? Challenge their manhood. That's what I think you're leading off, Seth, about which team you want to play, which team is best matchup. I think A&M's physically has enough to challenge the manhood of Miami and potentially Ohio State. But will they? Do they have the psyche and the mental capability to go out there and do it for 60 minutes and play a full football game and score touchdowns and not field goals? I have doubts. I'm actually taking the Hurricanes in this game. I think Miami goes in and gets the win because I just don't think the A&M actually has the guts or the cojones or testicular fortitude to get it done. It's great, great, great. But when it matters in the big game at the end of the year, they no-show. And I expect the same thing to happen on Saturday. I think the Hurricanes go in there and they put on a show. Tony's going to have 2 touchdowns. Carson Beck will look settled. The Hurricanes will win, and they'll get to go play Ohio State the second round.
Fresh. All right, I'm going to put it like this. As a Buckeye fan, Marcel Reed bothers me more than Carson Beck. And the reason being is that Marcel Reed is way more athletic than Carson Beck. And I think that Patricia's defense could give them an issue. But Marcel Reed is the type of guy that you could have your fingertips on him. And he's shifty enough to get away. And then he's got a running ability that a lot of other quarterbacks don't have. He is a very special quarterback. And you even talked about this early on the season. We're going down to UCF. What is that? Week 4 or 5, whatever it was. And back in September, and our producer Drew said, which quarterback would you say is low-key like a Heisman dark horse? And he said Marcel Reed. And he's a really, really talented player. He's exactly what I thought Lenore Sellers was going to be this season. And with Casey Concepcion, which I love that kid's last name because it's just a fun one to say. I feel like we've been talking about him for years. For years, we've been talking about him because, he was at NC State as a true freshman, balled out. Really good wide receiver. People don't realize how talented he is. The only problem I have is Marcel Reed, 61 completion percentage. Again, magic line in college football, it is right at 60% minimum. And we want to see closer to 70% ourselves. And I look at this and I go, is this truly a great team? Because Texas A&M played the weakest schedule out of the top 25 when you look at teams' win-loss percentage. I don't care what conference you're in. I want you to beat teams that have won more games than they lost. Yes, I get it. You could be playing Miami of Ohio, who has 9 wins, and that's fine. But then sooner or later, that's going to balance itself out over the course of your schedule. You played a sub 500 schedule in that regard. I don't really know how good this A&M team is. Are they truly tested? Are they really tough? Or are they a fraud? Now, again, you can't put a team in fraudville for making the playoffs and in the playoffs because, again, you can't be a fraud if you made the 12-team playoff. Like that's already been decided there. But Miami, I look at Miami how I looked at Texas last year. And we talked about this as Texas made the 4-team playoff, and this next step was for them to win a playoff game. They beat Arizona State by some assistance from officiating, but they won the game at the end of the day. And then them and Ohio State had a really, really tough battle, and we won a playoff game. Can start saying that they're back if they go into Kyle Field and beat Texas A&M. Now, Fresh, fun fact for you. Carson Beck's middle name is Rain. I don't necessarily know how serious I can take Carson Rain Beck. I think his parents probably hated him as a baby just to name him like those 3 names, but I'm kidding there. But I look at Carson Beck. He's got to step up. This is a big moment for him. He's got to play. We got to see good Carson Beck there. Malachi Tooney has been amazing, one of the best freshmen we've seen with his speed over there in Miami. But you're right. I want to see this Miami defense. This Miami defense right now has forced 20 turnovers. They've recovered 8 fumbles, and they have 12 interceptions on the year to go with their 34 sack. Can they do that to A&M? If they can win the turnover battle and put Marcel Reed behind the sticks, I like it. I like Miami in this football game. If Marcel Reed can kind of avoid the big mistake and you can kind of pressure Carson Beck, he's taken only 9 sacks on the year, and Texas A&M's gotten 41 on the season. Sid from Ice Age might show up and feel like he's chasing after that acorn all over again, and we're watching Ice Age 24, the continental drift that is the United States of America in the French Revolution that's just a cold winter. I don't even know anymore with them. Like, I want to see Miami come back because I kind of want it for the ACC. But man, Fresh, I just don't know which team's going to do it. Like, there's so many flaws on both sides. I'm going with Miami in this one. And I think it's weird because last year, all 4 home teams won a game. And I think this year we're going to go 2. I think the 2 marquee matchups are going to show that the road team can win the game in their home stadium.
Yeah. And it's just, I think they need the road teams to win the first rounds, at least one of them. And they also need the top 4 seeds to win their round. It's if the top 4 seeds all lose again this year,
I don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, there's even like who knows what happened. It'll just be another disaster. But that's the playoff. Anything can happen. That's why the NFL playoffs is the greatest. Where who gets the 1 seed is fantastic, but it's a team that gets hot. And like Ohio State last year, we all knew Ohio State had the talent. They lost a close one to Oregon, and they tried to mess around versus Michigan. But when they had motivation, they got pissed off, and they got locked in. They were unbeatable. There was no one in the faces that was going to beat that team. They were just head and shoulders better. They played their potential. And that's where, can you get hot at the right time? You're healthy enough at the right time to carry through. So we'll see. But this is a big chance for Miami to just officially say they're back, because we keep hearing it, the you this and the you that, and they're back and whatnot. You better show up on Saturday afternoon. The funny thing is, I'm sure the committee was very happy not to have Miami host a playoff game, because there'd be 10 people in the stands, and it'd be all visiting fans showing up on top of that. So they're probably like, you know what, let's send the Hurricanes on the road. We don't have to worry about them being embarrassed fan-wise in their own stadium.
I also think they don't want to give them a game because that's where the national title game is, in Hard Rock.
Well, still, you'd have the band and 1,000 people, and then the other 45 would be the opposing fans. It's about to be a neutral site game.
Yeah. Oh, we could have gotten cheap tickets to go down there at least then. All right, Fresh. Let's go to the 30 kickoff on TNT here. Screams college football is Turner Broadcasting Company here, TNT. Tulane Green Wave, they're heading to Mississippi to face the Ole Miss Rebels, who he's officially the head coach now, I guess. I guess he's not the interim anymore. Lane Kiffin left them high and dry. Ole Miss has all sorts of fun stuff to kind of motivate them. Right now, Ole Miss 17.5-point favorite in this game. This is a rematch again. They played Tulane, what was that, week
Three,
four. Yeah, week
week 3 or
4, week
4.
5 here. 45-10 in that game. Now, again, I think this game might be a little bit closer than 45-10. I say that with the full expectation of like 35-14, which is technically closer than 45-10.
I just expect so originally the whole thing was Lane Kiffin and taking the entire staff. If you're not, quote unquote, if you're not on the plane, you don't have a job at LSU. After all the drama went down, things you kind of just see Charlie Weiss and Joe Cox, the rest of those staffers come. They were allowed back to come coach the offense because they have no one there except with the GAs. So it's going to be interesting to see how they call the game though, because Charlie Weiss Jr. is the offensive coordinator, but Lane Kiffin was calling the plays. So how does Charlie Weiss Jr. and Joe Cox, the rest of the offensive staff, up a game plan and then execute it? What are their tendencies? How are they going to attack the defense? Are they going to do it the exact same way? Are they going to have a different feel, their own personal touch to it? It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I see them overall, Ole Miss playing with a significant chip on their shoulder because number one, they're proving that they are just better than Lane Kiffin. I think the players are pissed that we have our coach who wants to be here. We are more than just Lane Kiffin. We're going to go out there and put on a show. And I think the Trinidad Chambliss and the entire offense are going to have a say in how they want to call this game too. They're going to look at Charlie West Jr. They're going to look at Joe Cox. They're going to look at the rest of the offensive staff and say, you know what? It's great. Y'all are going to LSU. It's great that you're here coaching us, but we're gonna have a say more than you will in how this game is going to be decided because you're going to be gone. You're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We're all invested in playing for Ole Miss right now. So that's going to be interesting, sort of who is in control and how that game plan comes down offensively. John Summerall, he's obviously put his donation down where is giving money to Tulane to help boost their program, even though he's leaving. So he's trying to ingratiate himself with the Tulane fan base. He's done a lot for him. He got him to, a college football playoff. But do they have enough playmakers across the board? Brett Slapp, can he go toe to toe again with the Ole Miss football team, the Ole Miss offense? I don't think so. And I also think Pete Golding and that defense for Ole Miss are going to have a little extra juice because now their guy is the head coach. This game will be ugly, ugly, ugly. Ole Miss will run them out of the state, and John Summerall will be coaching officially a Gator in all full capacity on Sunday morning. But there's a reason why this game is in the middle of the day. This game will not be fun. It will be close to a repeat of the early season version, and Ole Miss will get to take on the Georgia Bulldogs looking for revenge in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day.
Fresh, it's Christmas time, which means watch Home Alone. So to quote Home Alone, buzz your girlfriend wolf. Like, this is an ugly game. An ugly, ugly game. I hear you about Ole Miss playing with the chip on your shoulder. And again, you're going to go around and smack up Tulane. Wonderful. Great. Everyone expected you to do it. Then you better get ready in 11 days after that, 12 days after that, whatever the time difference is between the games there. Because the measuring stick for you to have a chip on your shoulder is going to be playing Georgia in the second round. That's going to be the measuring stick. Because if they're really, truly a chip on our shoulder, we got to prove that we're more than Lane Kiffin and blah, 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 blah. Then you got to do it against Georgia. Here's the thing. If you don't, it just proves everyone right. Okay, you're a good middle of the road, like SEC team, but no one is going to expect you to be very good going forward. Like, you're going to have all those expectations that Ole Miss has had the last 2 years, from the NIL deals to the transfer portal to everything that they've done. If they don't win multiple games in this playoff setting, golf clap, wonderful. Good job, guys. Way to go, Bucko. You're not really that quality of a team. You're not really someone that's going to ever strike fear into me. You're going to be in the same boat as Missouri. Yeah, okay. You're going to beat the teams you should beat and then lose to the upper level echelon of college football. Good job, guys, out of you. Penn State, same kind of put them in there. But at least Penn State won playoff games last year, I guess. So you can argue all you want about who they faced in the playoff, but at least they won some playoff games there. I don't even know, man. I really look at this one and I sit there and I say, talent-wise, Ole Miss should run away with this, but Vegas putting them in at 17.5. I think everyone's going to jump on that number, and I really am curious why Vegas has them in at only 17.5. To me, this screams like 20.5, like a 3 touchdown game. But technically
Jump
is
on
at
it.
17.5.
Jump on it like Tonto.
Yep. Hey, Carlton Banks and Will Smith, one of my favorite clips from Fresh Prince right there. All right, Fresh, let's go to the other just absolutely wonderful game that the committee has gifted us here. Folks, if you can't already, start blowing up if you're listening to this podcast, please write letters, send emails, call in the middle of the night to their homes to tell them to put Fresh and me on the playoff committee. I want to know who selects the committee members. Is it the conferences? They're like, hey, we're going to send this, we get this. Who selects the actual playoff committee members?
I'm not sure. I know it's like they have a 2 to 3 year service time, and then they're replaced. I think it might be like the committee, like the college football playoff, like trust or fund or whatever, or LLC or whatever the heck they are, and they kind of like a selection, like a recommendation selection panel. I mean, my opinion for the committee should be just former coaches and former players. It shouldn't be any sports writer. Just give me coaches and players, former coaches, and Heisman Trophy winners, and you rotate them every 3 years
Mhm.
because you're at least going to have people who have succeeded at the highest level, have won. The sports writers all have agendas, and as we know, AP voters don't even pay attention. So there's one guy who voted it. Well, I think even had Connecticut and UConn separate because they didn't know what the heck they were doing. It's
Mhm.
it is what it is. They're on there. They pull it in. James Madison was the only reason that they're in is the way the whole bylaws are written, where it's the top 5 conference champions in terms of ranking. And Duke had 5 losses. They can't be ranked. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
So it's just the way that this whole thing fell down. If Virginia took care of business, this would not be happening right now. But
Right.
the Wahoos, the old Cavs, they stumbled again. So it is what it is. James Madison, you need PS commentator. You need the original James Madison reincarnated. You need a lot of help to go up there and beat the Ducks. It's going to be ugly. Get your ceremonial touchdown on the board, but be ready for what's about to come at your direction. If you want to hint, look what happened when Liberty went and played Oregon out in the Fiesta Bowl a couple of years back. It was like, oh, undefeated Liberty, blah blah blah, and they got handed to them. And I expect Dan Lanning, the Ducks, to do the exact same thing because this also is a chance to send a message across the bow that we aren't just beating them, we are ready and locked and loaded. And if you expect Oregon to come out there and lay an egg, last year they were embarrassed in the Rose Bowl. They were the number 1 overall seed. Bet my bleep and bleep they are going to be locked in and ready for this game, and they're going to put down their flippers, and they are going to beat the living hell out of James Madison. This
Right.
game could be 63. So we're both playing. We both play in a college football online dynasty, and I know it's week 1 of our third season. Most of us were all dropping 70 on our week 1 opponent, whether they were ranked or not. I could see in real life Dante Moore being benched at halftime because Oregon is on pace to put up 70 on James Madison. There's a reason why this game is being put in alignment with the Packers Bears game. They're going to get the first 45 minutes, and then when the 8 o'clock Packers Bears game kicks off, either everyone's already moved to the pregame show or they're all going to turn over the Fox. And unless you're a James Madison watching your kid play or Oregon fan watching your son play, everyone's going to be turning off so the game's going to be over in reality and over because the other game is on. James Madison, congratulations. You did what you had to do. You put yourself in the spot. You have 1 loss on the year. Awesome season. Remember it forever. But what's about to happen, it's not personal. It's business. And that's
Mhm.
what's going to happen on Saturday night.
Gosh, this is a drinking game. This is one of those where it is, you got to pick a couple of things to
Well,
watch for in this game.
there's a card game where it's a football card game. If you order it online, and folks, there's like a drinking game football card game, like commercial breaks, insurance, first downs, interceptions. Buy that and use
Right.
that game for this one because that will be you'll get drunk really quick, but it'll be very enjoyable.
Yeah, how many times TNT mentions either Nike or Phil Knight, or how many times, they bring up the Ducks losing in historic fashion in the Rose Bowl or what have you. Come up with your own. It's similar
How
to
many
the
times
How
they
I
show
Met
the
Your Mother.
duck?
Every time they show the duck or his head falling off or him falling off the motorcycle or whatever. It's the How I Met Your Mother episode where Robin is doing the and I don't even think this could even be remotely close. I legitimately feel bad for what Oregon's going to do to James Madison because I'm a big proponent for underdogs. I love rooting for underdogs. if you've been following along with the podcast for a long time, go back to a couple of years ago when I'm sitting here pounding the table for Cincinnati to get into the 14 playoff because they did everything they were supposed to. The thing about the Cincinnati game against Alabama, at least Cincinnati had a couple of dudes that were going to play on Sunday. Like they have a ton. And this is when Cincinnati, before they moved to the Big 12, remember that, folks. I don't think James Madison has like more than a dude,
The
maybe two.
American and the Sun Belt, that's a big difference. Like this is a Sun Belt team. Now, someone will also say, well, some of those transfers in Indiana, they all came from James Madison. They did, but that cover is a little bare now. So it's
Right. We'll see what this one goes into it. I'm intrigued to watch Dante Moore really here, Fresh, because I think Dante Moore, and I was talking to Drew during our recap episode. I was looking at where Fernando was going to be ranked by NFL draft scouts. Depending on what website you looked at, it was either Fernando as number one or Dante Moore as number one for top NFL quarterback prospect coming out. And I was sitting there thinking after we finished recording, like, you know, Oregon didn't only had like a couple of marquee games this year, and again, it's the schedule is what it is. We we didn't talk a ton about Dante Moore. I don't think we had to because I think he got pulled out of quite a few games to kind of keep him fresh. But the dude had a heck of a season. 2,700 yards, 72.5% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And then you talk on top of it, he also got in a rushing touchdown. The dude was a really good quarterback for Oregon this year. He fixed a lot of the problems they had at UCLA. I think we need to start calling Dan Lanning the quarterback whisperer. Like, if your quarterback has problems early on in his career, like, send him to Oregon. Have him go to Oregon. Dan Lanning will figure out a way to fix him.
well, it's one thing you bring about, before diving into the quarterback spot about underdogs. Everyone loves underdogs in the college basketball, men's college basketball tournament because you have five guys on the court. It's 5-on-5. It's got your bench guys there. You shoot, you play. You can play defense. You can play in different styles. You can be jacket from the arc. You have a couple big guys. You play down low. You work the foul game. That translates for basketball, but not for football. The reason
Not at
why
all.
it's the line of scrimmage. You might have the receivers. You might have the scat back. It's the offensive line, defensive line. It's the depth.
Mm.
That's what is the biggest difference. And you're not going to see that 16 taking down the 1 seed in the first round or the 15 and the 2, the 12-5 matchup. Those are like, that everyone falls in love with those matchups because it's an unknown name team. The team shows up there on a Thursday, that first opening tip, and they just jack up tons of threes to make a run like Oakland did a few years back. And they get there. That same athletic ability in comparison and matchup on the court is different. It's not like Hoosiers where Gene Hackman looks at it as like my 5 around the court and you just got 5 guys to play basketball. In football, you got to hit people in physical line of scrimmage and eventually you wear and tear on you in 60 minutes. And that is where these smaller schools like a Sun Belt team are going to be exposed. You might play good for the first quarter with energy and adrenaline. That second, third, and fourth quarter, you're going to be weighing on you. And then that's when you get destroyed. It's, we always see it with the MAC teams or whoever plays in September or even late games in the middle of the season where the first quarter, like, oh my God, they're playing with them. And then you try to check back in about halftime and it's 32 to, nothing. You're like, oh, that was cute. It's just, it goes, and then boom, it's over. That's why these games are going to be blowouts. And people are going to eventually put the pitchfork and like, we can't have small group of 5 teams anymore. The games aren't fun to watch.
They need their own playoff.
And eventually you're going to have the TV execs say, I'm paying for playoff games and I'm getting garbage. In terms of ratings, they're dropping off. The blowouts, they're not going to be driving the attention. Sponsors aren't going to get the viewership on their product. All that will spiral to a point of, no, we actually need the 12 best teams and not having the group of 5, having a pre-existing condition, if you will, to get the playoffs. This might be the one tipping point. Either get to 16, like I mentioned in our recap, or a way to exit the group of 5 because there is no chance for them to win a national championship. And for some of these schools who went group of 5 from SCS, how much more money are you actually making when you're not competing for a SCS national championship? You're here making the playoff. That's great, 1 in a million chance, but you're going to get bludgeoned. You're going to get destroyed, and your players are only hit the transfer portal in a year, and you're going to have to reset and go forward again.
Yeah, they need their own group of 5 playoff. They really do, because I would watch the group of 5 playoff. I would love the Group of Five playoff, Fresh,
It'd be the NIT.
because
It'd be the NIT. There's an article I put
NIT,
out on spinablesports.com. Check it out, folks.
right. But the cool thing would be like you could put these in as home games and you could really put them in the unique stadiums that are in the Group of Five. Like we've talked about this before. You have the Big Blue over there in Boise State. I know Boise State just got boat raced by Washington in their bowl game, but you could have these places where you put a spotlight on these programs and kids who, maybe you are a fringe Power Four player, but then you see these kids on Saturday in their own special playoff and they're balling out over there. And then next thing you know, they're being drafted in the NFL in the second or third round. Someone's giving them more of a look because they do have exposure. And you get these great stadiums, you get,
But
matching.
that's the FCS for most of these teams. Like James Madison was an FCS championship
Right.
contender. They're like, oh, let's elevate. Or App State and Georgia Southern.
Right. But they couldn't
What
move
what
like
do
the
you
MAC
actually?
teams
The
down.
MAC teams have always been, but like these teams are the true group of five. Like, what did you actually do by elevating up to bowl subdivision? What are you actually getting out of it? Yes, you get this one rare chance, like Liberty. You get the one rare chance, then you get absolutely humiliated in front of everybody because there is a massive discrepancy.
You know what we haven't talked about yet, Fresh, is, and I just realized this when you were saying it, how we're going to treat was it going to be the Pac-12 next year because they reformed the conference.
It's basically going to be the Mountain West.
It is. But again, in name only, they're going to be still viewed like that. It'll be intrigued to see how they deal with that one.
Well, that's 2020.
Right. But again, if you had like people had to go all the way out to Hawaii to play in a game, or you're playing Eastern Michigan with the Raccoons running the scoreboard, or the college kids at Toledo with just rolling the kegs down from the dormitory into the parking lot on Thursday night and having Thirsty Thursdays in the Toledo Rockets parking lot, or I don't
Going
know,
to Troy, Alabama, or
Troy, Alabama.
going to Louisiana and playing the Raging Cajuns. Like you would get
Exactly.
unique settings for college football.
Yeah. And people throwing gumbo at you as you come on there. And that's what you could do. You could make this entertaining and you wouldn't have to like ruin the bowl games either. Or you could all these meaningless bowl games that no one watches, turn them into the Group of Five playoff.
Yeah.
So
And
it
Seth
works.
brings up a great point. If you want to see some, I actually laid out an entire expanded playoff with NIT and layers. So spinablesports.com, check it out.
Yeah. Fresh will post on his Twitter feed when we get there. So make sure you guys check this out in the next day or so here. Fresh, it's going to be a great one here. We'll see how this all works out. So out of your matchups, which one are you looking forward to the next round the most? Let's say Bama wins. We both said Miami, Ole Miss, UGA, Oregon, Texas Tech.
As a Georgia fan, obviously looking forward to Georgia Ole Miss, but taking that fandom out, Oregon, Texas Tech would be a lot of fun.
Me too.
Like I already mentioned it, it's Nike money, oil money, but that would be we'll get it really we'll test the manhood of Texas Tech Red Raiders against the depth of Oregon and see if they can truly keep up.
That's the game I can't wait for. And oh man, I even forgot. I'm excited to watch Jaden Kennedy, Jacksonville's own Jaden Kennedy. Went to Tulane, went to Ole Miss, Oregon. He played on 3 of the 12 playoff teams. And he's from Jacksonville, Florida. Played over at Fletcher High School around the beaches.
There, Beach Rats.
Yep.
Hey, there's a lot of good football here in Jacksonville and Duval County.
There is. A lot of talent. All right, folks, you've been listening to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're part of Spinable Sports, so make sure you go to spinablesports.com. Like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Hit that subscribe button up there. Engage with us on social media. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up for y'all here, so make sure you're locked in along the way. Fresh, we got more college football playoff games, and coming in the near future, we have bowl games that aren't playoff games that we need to talk about. That maybe, just maybe, we might have a Pop-Tart debate on here, which would be really good stuff.
We can call it this duck pin bowl season now. It's not bowling anymore. It's like duck pin bowling where it's the mini ones. That's basically where we're at.
Yep.
But looking forward to it. We always get the fun games, the different unique matchups. Obviously, who's playing, who's opting out, where the games are at, what's the weather. But it's still bowl season. It's college football. It's the end of the year. It's a holiday time. It's awesome. I can't wait for this week, the opening week of the playoff. Enjoy it, folks. College football is a gem. And all the chaos we have around it, all the craziness, it still delivers. Lock in, have fun. Hit us up, spinablesports.com, Spinable Sports YouTube channel, at IR Confidence Pod for the Irrational Confidence Podcast on Twitter, at Spinable Sports as well on Twitter. We'll talk to you on Friday and Saturday night until our recap and our bowl preview episodes. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.